No man was allowed inside this room. Not for an hour, not to deliver anything, not ever. The bath's own attendants enforced it. The man who painted it had never been to Turkey and would have been turned away at the door if he had. Every detail in it is correct. The clogs, the heated stone, the trays of food, the height of the dome, the way a bride was brought in by her in-laws. All of it checks out against Ottoman sources, painted by someone who could not have seen any of it. With the ceiling, absurdly high for a space that only needs to hold warm water. That height is the cooling system. Steam rises, condenses against the dome, runs down the walls and away. Build the same room with a low roof, and everything you washed off would fall back onto the person below. Light comes through one small opening, set high in the middle of the far wall, plus whatever falls through the glass, eyes punched into the dome. The hall receives all of it from points nobody standing inside can reach. Every face in that room was lit from somewhere unreachable, all day, every day, for 400 years. At the center sits the slab of stone heated from a furnace in another room, warmth arriving with no visible fire and no visible source, coming up through the marble into whoever lies on it. Bathers stayed there an hour, sweating, before anyone came near them with water. Nobody walked flat on that floor. Marble ran hot and used water ran across it, so feet went into nalon, wooden platform sandals lifting the heels several inches clear of both. Surviving pairs come inlaid with mother-of-pearl and silver wire, which tells you these were owned rather than borrowed, and brought from home. Cloth carried information, wrapped, half-wrapped, dry, wet. A woman's covering told the room whether she had washed, was washing, or was resting afterwards. Moving between them were the natur, paid attendants who scrubbed you down with a coarse mitt until the skin came away in grey rolls. That was the service, and you tipped for it. Boys came in with their mothers until the women in the room judged them old enough for the men's side. That judgment was collective. It was made out loud, and there was no appeal. A boy went in 1 week as a child among adults, and the next week found the door shut against him for the rest of his life. Everything here ran on customs with real weight behind them. Before a wedding, the bride was brought in by the groom's female relatives, and the celebration doubled as an inspection of her body in front of the family she was joining. Ottoman jurists went further, treating a husband who withheld the money for the bath as grounds a wife could take to court. Which raises the question the picture never asks about itself. Everything visible here reached Paris in words first. Descriptions given by women, repeated to men, written down, carried across a continent, handed to a painter in a studio as a brief. Somewhere in that chain, a room became a set of instructions, and nobody wrote down who first said them. A few plates away in the same book sits the Prophet Muhammad ascending through the heavens. Nobody in Paris had seen that either. 2 rooms closed to the men who drew them, one sacred and one entirely ordinary, produced by the same workshop in the same year, printed on the same press, bound between the same boards. The picture was ordered for a book meant to defend the Ottoman Empire to Europeans who assumed the worst of it. Ignatius Moradja Dosun, born in Pera of Armenian descent, chargé d'affaires for Sweden, arrived in Paris in 1784, carrying 22 years of research and the conviction that the empire was being described by people who had never been there. He hired more than 28 French artists and spent more on the plates than the book could ever earn back. One of them was Lou Barbayai, 51 years old, academy-trained, with no Ottoman experience whatsoever. He numbered his canvas along the bottom edge and down the right side, so an engraver could copy it square by square. Most plates in the book descend from Jean-Baptiste Hilaire, who had spent 1776 and 1777 in Turkey with a sketchbook and a commission. Hilaire looked, drew, and came home. His sheets then traveled through studios belonging to men who had not, getting finished, corrected and composed by hands that had never seen the thing on the paper. Mecca posed the same problem in sacred form, since non-Muslims could not approach the haram at all. The panorama in Volume 2 was drawn by Lepinas from Dosson's spoken instructions, then engraved by Berto, who had also never been. Words to a drawing to a copper plate, and at no stage did anyone check it against the building. European painting had solved this centuries earlier. Nobody had seen the Annunciation either, or the Nativity, or the Ascension. Academy training was in large part training in how to build a convincing room around an event no witness ever described in visual terms, and a painter who could not do that did not get commissions. The method broke down into parts a student could be drilled on. A light source raised high and behind. Figures gathered in 4s and 5s, so the eye has somewhere to rest. One group given clear space around it, others placed in attendance. Floor lines running inward toward whoever matters most, so that a viewer arrives at the right person without being told. Applied to a working building, that method installs a stage. Light starts behaving like grace. The bride's party moves into the position a holy family would occupy, and women washing themselves become a supporting cast arranged at a respectful distance. The architecture never proposed a center, and the composition supplies one anyway, because a picture without a center reads as a mistake. A stone hall under a dome returns every sound twice, so a full bath was loud enough that women raised their voices to be heard across it, over running water and wooden soles on marble. The painting shows 20 women in a room built to echo, and it is completely silent. 70 years later, Ang Ru painted the same subject without leaving France, working from Lady Mary Wortley Montagu's letters, which he had copied out into a notebook by hand. He kept the room, the bodies, and the leisure. What he dropped was the pretense of a document. So what survives is not an afternoon in Istanbul. It is what such an afternoon looks like once it has passed through a Paris studio trained on scripture, and the result is calmer, better lit, and more legible than the thing itself ever was. Anyone who had actually spent 4 hours in there would have found it unrecognizably peaceful. Bathers described a long, hot, crowded afternoon in fragments, and no two accounts of it would have matched. What reached the page was one composed moment with a light source, a leading group and figures in attendance. Ordinary life came back as theater, and the theater is the only reason anyone in Europe ever looked at it. One invention in this picture is stranger than the rest, and it takes a moment to find. Work out where a body would have to stand to see the hall from this angle and this height. There is no bench at that spot, no doorway, no step. Whoever is looking is standing somewhere the building does not contain. The composition did not stay in the book. Once a convincing version of that room existed, painters who wanted to show a Turkish bath had somewhere to start, and starting there was easier than traveling. What Le Barbier arranged in a Paris studio became the shape the room was expected to have. Ingres is the clearest case, 70 years later, and still in France, working from Lady Mary Wortley Montagu's letters copied into a notebook by hand. He kept the crowded hall, the raised light, the leisure. By the second half of the century, the subject had its own market. Buyers in London and Paris wanted the bath, and painters supplied it at whatever size sold. Almost none of them had stood in one. The room had become a genre, and a genre answers to its buyers rather than to the place it depicts. Dosson's other unseeable image fared worse than late. In 1791, he had a far larger Mecca panorama engraved by the Varin brothers, and almost the entire print run burned in a fire in Pera before it could be distributed. 2 pictures of places their makers could not enter, one delivered too late and one turned to ash. Read the credits along the bottom of the plate. Le Barbier drew it. An engraver cut it. Lespinasse and Berto handled Mecca. Dawson compiled the whole book across 22 years. Every fact about that room came from women who had spent their lives in it. And the book names not one of them anywhere in 3 volumes. Count them yourself, the next time a picture claims to show somewhere you cannot go. The names printed on it will belong to the people who arranged the light and set the figures in place. The knowledge inside it came from somebody else, and that person is almost never on the page. The canvas still carries its numbers along the edge, pointing at a plate most readers never received, a room that let almost nobody in, and a picture of it that almost nobody got, lit like a chapel by a man who had seen neither of those things and got the clogs right anyway.
Thank you for watching. If this video brought you any value, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. For more content like this, hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you next time.